fire to their encampments, embarked upon sturdy ships and sailed away. But others, led by bold Odysseus, stayed behind right in the heart of Troy town, hidden in the host. The men of Troy themselves had dragged it into the city, and there it stood, and all around it sat the Trojans arguing loud and long. 3 ways their minds divided: to take sharp swords and slash the hollow horse to pieces, or else to drag it to the cliff and hurl it over, or let it stand untouched as an offering to the gods. This last indeed was their decision and their doom. For later out they poured, the sons of the Achaeans, leaving their ambush in the horse, and sacked the city.
That, we believe, is how the Odyssey was sung by Homer. And for hundreds of years after he died, when the Odyssey and that other great heroic tale, the Iliad, were the most popular poems in Greece, they were still spoken at big public concerts by professional reciters who knew both poems by heart and declaimed them as dramatic poetry. The Odyssey is a poem, then, with fine language and stirring rhythms and many beautiful descriptions. For instance, the island and the home of the nymph Calypso, who kept Odysseus prisoner for 7 years.
Around her cave there grew a grove, luxuriant with alder trees and poplars and sweet-scented cypress. Birds with long, slender wings nested among the branches, and there about the cave mouth ran a pliant vine, flourishing in its pride, laden with clustered grapes. 4 springs were gushing out in cascades of bright water. On every side were meadows rich with greenery and violets. A sight to gladden even a god.
As well as beautiful descriptions, there are splendid passages of narrative in the Odyssey. One of the best, Odysseus, telling how he blinded the Cyclops.
The giant spoke, leaned back, and fell supine. Then rolled his huge neck round sideways, overcome by sleep, the conqueror. Out of his mouth came wine and gobbets of human flesh spewed up in drunken vomit. Now, I pushed the pole into the heart of the fire till it grew hot and glowed and sparkled terribly. And then God gave us courage. I, with my comrades, pulled it out of the fire and thrust it into his eye. While they pressed it down, I stood above and turned it hard, like a ship's carpenter drilling into a plank. His eyelid and his brow were seared by the fierce heat. His eyeball burned away. The nerves swelled up and burst. He roared a hideous roar that boomed all round the cave and wrenched the pole, smeared with blood, out of his eye.
As well as such splendid narratives, there are many eloquent speeches. Even the hideous Cyclops could make a touching speech, again, as related by Odysseus.
The giant sent his sheep to pasture every morning. So now he rolled the stone back from the mouth of the cavern and sat beside the entrance, groping with hands outspread to catch one of my men walking out with the sheep. But I was not so foolish. I devised a scheme. I took the giant's rams, young, strong, and thickly fleeced, counted them off by threes, and tied each three together, and lashed one man beneath the ram of the three. Chose out the strongest ram of all, clasping him beneath the fleece, hiding there upwards. So all my men escaped, tied safe beneath the sheep. Last went my ram, weighed down with his wool and my cunning. The giant stroked his shaggy back and spoke. My ram, my favorite ram, why are you leaving the cave, last of all the flock? You were never a laggard before. No, you were always the first, stepping fast and lively to crop the tender grass and drink at the river springs. Always first at sunset, eagerly returning to shelter here. Now, you are last of all. And why? Grieving for your master, whom a bad man blinded with his vile companions, making me drunk with wine.
So, when we read the Odyssey, we must remember that it is not simply a fine story, but a glorious piece of poetry. No translation is as beautiful as the original poem. Partly this is because ancient Greek was such a noble language, so much more resonant and various than all modern languages, including English. Listen, you've just heard Odysseus recalling the speech of the Cyclops.
My ram, my favorite ram, Why are you leaving the cave, last of all the flock? You were never a laggard before.
Now, in Greek, there are more different sounds, and the words come in many more patterns of rhythm, so that, apart from the meaning, it actually sounds more attractive and interesting. Krie pepon, timai hode diaspios, esua melon hystatos, uti paroske lelaimenos erchiai oion. It actually makes even the brutal giant sound eloquent, doesn't it? Homer had a wonderful meter to work with, a marching, swinging, dactylic hexameter, more powerful than anything which has yet been invented in English. But first and foremost, Homer was telling an exciting story. His audience, like all audiences since storytelling began, wanted to know the answer to a simple question: what happens next?
Now you go home at early dawn and watch the suitors. And then the swineherd will take me to the city, disguised as a poor, old, ugly, miserable beggar. If they mistreat me in the house, restrain yourself. No matter how I suffer, you control your feelings. Yes, even if you see me dragged headlong to the gates, watch and endure in silence. Of course, you can suggest they drop this foolish mischief. They will not listen. Not for a moment, no. The day of their doom is near.
And now, Odysseus makes himself into a new and strange kind of hero. This was a brilliantly original idea of Homer's. In a heroic age, strength and courage are everything. It is impossible to imagine any of the other Homeric heroes, Achilles, Agamemnon, Nestor, pretending to be a weakling or a beggar, even to win a victory. But Odysseus is an untypical hero.
Hey, look at that filthy beggar. Where did he come from?
Listen to me, suitors of mine. You have been trying to eat and drink this house away in gluttony, in the long absence of its master. Your pretext is that you want to marry me and take me away. Here is the prize, in a contest open to you all. I shall lay down the mighty bow of King Odysseus. Whoever is the most expert at stringing it by hand and shooting through the row of a dozen standing axes, that man can take me. I shall follow him and leave this rich and lovely house, a house where I was married, though I shall long remember it, seeing it in dreams.
Come on, you suitors. Here is a prize open to all. A woman such as none can find in all Achaea, in Ithaca itself, or on the dark mainland. Come on, then. No evasions or excuses. Don't postpone the bending of a bow, but let us see you. Why, I myself will make a trial of the bow, and if I bend and string it and shoot through the axes, then I will not be sad if my mother leaves me to go with another man. I shall stay here myself, for I shall be well able to fight my father's battles.
Here, give me that bow.
Listen, you men. I have a special word to say. Suppose Odysseus should appear out of the blue, miraculously. How would you two behave? Would you side with the suitors or defend Odysseus?
God, Father in heaven, grant that miracle. Then you will see what we are worth in strength and courage.
Home at last. I am home after so many trials. After 20 years, I have reached my country at last. And now I know at least that you will welcome me of all the servants here. I shall reward you later. But now, listen well.
Dan, Dennis, look at the expert. Tiger with a bow. No doubt he has a dozen just like that at home, or else he plans to make one. Damn destiny, so he were a champion. Vagabond. If he can string it, I wish him luck. He struck it.
So, that is settled, that decisive competition. But now another target which no one ever hit. Let me take aim at that. God guide my arrow straight! You dogs! You all believed that I would never return home from the land of Troy. And so you raped my house and paid your sneaking court to the wife of a living man, with no respect for the gods who dwell in broad heaven, and no sense of shame before the judgment of men. But now, you are tied tight, and the knot that ties you is death! Telemachus!
tremendous scene of retribution, Odysseus returns and recaptures his home. The man who had fought for 10 years in the Trojan War was irresistible in his own house with his son at his side and faithful servants to cover him. But he had still one more trial of will, one more test of cunning.
Telemachus, my son, let your mother test me. We have our secret, she and I, known to us alone. Now I look filthy and wear these wretched beggar's rags. How could she honor me or say I was the man? Let us bathe ourselves and put on cleaner clothes. Then we shall see. Strange woman you are. Of all the women alive, the gods have surely given you the hardest heart. No other wife in the world would be so obstinate and turn away from her husband after 20 years. Well, I shall sleep alone. Make me a bed out there. She has a heart as hard as iron.
A strange man you are. I'm not scorning you. I'm not even surprised. Well, I remember your face as it was when you sailed away from your home to Troy. So now, Eurycleia, make his bed outside the bedroom which he built with his own hands. Bring out the bed and spread it deep with blankets.
Woman, what you have just said wounds me to the heart. Who has moved my bed? It would be difficult to move without a miracle. There was an olive tree inside the site of my house, well grown with flourishing leaves and a trunk as thick as a pillar. Round this I built the bedroom, adding the door and the roof. And then I cut the leaves and branches of the olive, smoothed down the trunk and straightened it and cut it square. And this I made the bedpost rooted in the ground. Now I do not know if my bed is still in place. Has anyone cut through the trunk of the solid tree and moved it away?
Odysseus, please do not be angry. Forgive me because I did not welcome you from the first moment. My heart was always frozen with anxiety in case some stranger came and cheated me with lies. But you have clearly told the secret of our room, which no one knew but you and me and one maidservant, the faithful girl who guarded the door of our room. And now my cold, hard heart grows warm and soft for you.